Okay, here we go. We're back. Hello, everybody. Welcome in. We're going to be here with you. I'm your host, Trevor May, here for hour 2 of Mayday on my own channel. How's everybody doing? We are going to continue on with the best questions about the free agency video. If you are just joining us, welcome in. I appreciate you guys. Thanks for being here. We are basically covering your best questions that you asked on the free agency video from about a week and a half ago that I put up on YouTube. I asked you for all your questions. You guys gave almost 900 of them, or there was 900 comments on the video, which is crazy. And we're doing some clarification. I prepared. I went and researched some of the stuff you guys asked and have my input on it. So I appreciate that, and we're going to keep going. And I'm excited. So that's not right. You're not supposed to see that, dude. You're not, but that's a secret. Actually, it's not a secret. Okay. We are confused. Huh. Where is that question? I don't think this is right. One sec. Let me get organized here because we are on my channel. I can be messed up. Oh, that's right. Huh. Hard floor. Where's the deferrals one? Oh, this is the wrong one again. Why do I have 2 of the same one? Okay, whatever. Doesn't matter. All right, we're gonna keep moving on. I figured out what's happening. All right. Okay. Let's get into more. Okay. Can you explain why the MLBPA has historically so against salary caps when other leagues' unions have accepted them? What's the MLB players' union strategy, and is it working? Short answer to that question: yes, it is working. It is widely considered around all the leagues that the Major League Baseball Players Association has had the best results out of any of the leagues. And for those of you that believe that the NFL has a good CBA, it is horribly owner-centric. It's crazy how imbalanced it is. And the reason that no players speak out is because there is literally a fine system put in place. If you remember Marshawn Lynch saying, "I'm just here so I won't get fined," that was a form of protest against a fine system that can fine you up to $50,000 for pretty much arbitrary crap. Wearing the wrong cleats is 20 grand. Disparaging the league is a fine. So it's pretty much a built-in NDA that makes it so you can't criticize what the NFL is doing. So I just want to be clear about that. I have a whole video planned for them too. So the reason that the PA, though, MLB, is against the salary cap is for a few reasons. I have been told anecdotally that the biggest need for a salary cap is how easy it is to stack one team with all the best players. And in the NBA and to an extent in the NFL, you can do that a lot more easily than you can in baseball, because baseball neutralizes stars and is based on failure. So even the best players can be in a slump, and then now they're not worth their money, and that happens constantly, right? Like basketball, it's much more rare for a star to just forget how to shoot. Does that make sense? Like they're playing against themselves in the shot. Yeah, they're being defended, but like in baseball, you have to have luck go your way. There's a lot more RNG. So anyway, that's part of it. But another reason is that the other leagues signed their salary caps, and then the Major League Baseball PA saw all of the problems with those systems. So there has been so many grievances and so many court cases around what is considered revenue in both those other leagues. The players' associations have had a nightmare trying to arbitrate for setting these really clear, definitive rules. And what happens in business, and especially in sports, is they are always adding new revenue sources and then trying to not have them be part of the revenue sharing. Like it's happening all of the time. And the NFL is always having problems with that, constantly, because those guys are constantly trying to weasel in new ways to make money off the players and not pay them. It's like, and the cap system as it is set up makes that easier for them. So let me be very clear about that. Also, the revenue sharing model where they get 50% of the revenues. Again, revenue can be manipulated in some crazy ways. For example, naming rights on a stadium in the NFL can be amortized over 15 years, which then drops that salary cap number down because they do their salary cap based on projection of the future profit or revenue for the league. So they project it. And then there's like some loose language around that's not super strict and hard to determine how that thing adjusts if they make more money than they project. And then they withhold certain, so they'll be like, oh, we're naming the stadium, but instead of it being like, even if it's named for 10 years, they can say, well, we're paying it for 15 years to make that number less. And then that factors in the projection, which lowers the salary cap because the teams want the lowest salary cap possible because you can project how much money you have to spend that year and make your franchise value go to the moon. Let me just put it very clearly for you guys. Profit and revenue is not attached to a success in the NFL at all. They're completely divorced. It is perfectly encapsulated by the Dallas Cowboys and the fact that their team is worth $9 billion. And Jerry Jones is the owner and has been the GM for 28 years. And in those 28 years, he is 2 games over 500. They are a 500 team since he's been the GM for 3 decades. Last year, it is projected, because this isn't public, they made $1.2 billion and paid $210 million in salary. That is not 50%. That is 1/6. But it's 50% around the league, not per team. So other teams have to pick up that bill for the Cowboys, which is crazy. And then on top of all that, Dak Prescott is making 1/4 of his team's entire salary. So like that is not a system working well, guys. That is not clear. That is not a way to build a team. So Dak has to take less money so more other guys can be on his team. That's crazy. Like that makes it very hard. And it's the employee's job to make it so their team can be good. That's crazy if you think about it. So basically, Major League Baseball saw that and said, we don't want that. That complicates things so much that we're not gonna play this game. And also, you can't definitively outspend competition in baseball effectively. You can do it, but you have to spend an astronomical amount of money, and it still might not work out. And it's much more guaranteed, say, if you are the Heat and you get Chris Bosh and LeBron James and Dwayne Wade, right? If there were no cap, think about what would happen in the NBA. The 5 best players be on a team, and one guy can take over a game. So like, that team would be the best team. And there's no question about that. It's inevitable. And that doesn't translate the same way in baseball. So that what I'm trying to say is the salary cap doesn't feel as necessary. It's more of a predictive mechanism for the owners, which we'll speak about in just a second. There's more questions in here that expand on this, which I think is really interesting. Okay. So next up, we go, can you break down how revenue sharing works in MLB and how the Pirates can claim poverty while receiving $100 million annually in shared revenue? Yes, I can. Thank you for asking this. Let me explain how revenue, at least the buckets of revenue, exist in baseball and why it's a problem. We have national revenue. That is Sunday Night Baseball, or whatever it is now on ESPN. That is the Apple games. That is that's the playoffs with Fox, and that is like CBS, like all of these deals signed for the special events. WBC stuff, I believe, is in this. All of the baseball teams, all 30 of them, split that 30 different ways directly because nobody is in control of that, right? The reason they don't do a national deal like, say, the NFL is because NFL they play games on 3 different days, and 2 of the days have 1 game. So like Sunday is just a huge day where everyone is watching not only their team, but the other teams. The national audience for the teams that aren't, it's not as regional of a sport, and it only happens once or twice a week. People are just sitting and watching once or twice a week. It's an event. There's less games to shop, so they can all be national games. If you're only shopping 16, 17, 18 days a year, like that aggregates a lot of viewership. In baseball, it's every goddamn day. So like there's oversaturation of baseball games. You can get baseball too easily, so it's not as enticing for national providers to spend tons of money. So there's not a huge amount there. So that's why that doesn't happen. That makes sense. That's logical. That, like, of course, like that's actually right. Like, I don't know how you can pull that off. So there's that national money. Then there's local revenue. That is naming rights to the stadium, ticket sales, local advertising, the regional TV networks. That goes into local revenue. 48% of every team goes into a bucket, and then that bucket is spread 1/30th. So when the Pirates go and they put their 48% in, and the Dodgers go and they put their 48% in, which is way more, what happens is they all go look at the what that pool is, what everyone's going to get, and they see how much everyone would put in or take out. And some teams receive more money because of that system, the Pirates, and some teams lose money, the Dodgers. Kind of like how the United States of America works with states, right? Aggregate the money, they spread it out, so they're like, it's not like the big places only get the federal money. It's the same way. It's the same thing for programs. They do that the same way. So if you think about it, the Pirates, who are never on a Sunday night baseball game, ever, they never participate in the national games, so they don't have anything to do with it, and they still get 1/30th of that. Then they put in less money and then receive more back. If you're getting an extra $100 million a year for nothing, why would you try? Why would you try? Why? If you kept all of your local revenue, you'd make $70 million. But if you give half of it away and then receive some back and get the national revenue, now you're making $120 million. What's the point of winning? It's not going to change either way. We're not going to make significantly more local revenue if we win. It's not worth it to win. That is probably the problem. That's how it works. 48% of local revenue. Now, if we lowered that to 25% and it was up to you to drive the revenue of your local revenue to make more of your money, and you couldn't rely so much on that pool, then suddenly I think we'd see people investing in their business. But they don't have to. It's just, they're just getting dividend checks. Some of these guys are just getting dividends checks. And then the A's will do things like go get Luis Severino or sign Trevor May for 1 year to get so it doesn't look quite as bad, but still rake in a bunch of money. And then you don't really have to do anything. You just have to be there. That might be the issue. That could be it. I don't know. It's almost as if it doesn't matter if we win because we're going to make the same amount of money either way. But it's just, that's kind of how it works. Now, that needs to exist at a level, but that is why the lower level teams aren't spending. And then the higher tier teams are spending because they're just saying, screw this. I'm going to spend it either way. It doesn't matter. I'm just going to spend it because it's better. It's just, I want to, and I want to win. I'm Steve Cohen, right? And then there's the luxury tax. So you go above the luxury tax, that money, you get a penalty on the money. So you got to pay a portion of that money into a pool that then gets what? Given to all the low market teams again. It's spread among the teams again. So there's even more because of the luxury tax. So they're just like, oh, I want that, I want that, I want that. Okay. We don't have the money to pay. I'm sorry, guys. And they spend 30% of their total money and they take 70 of it and put it in their pockets. And it's built that way. It's built so they can do that. So the ownership chose that. So do with that information what you will. So that's when we say they're crying poor and they're not poor. They're not, okay? All right, continuing on. There's a few more here, and I'm going to try to rapid fire them a little bit more. This might be a double video. And then we're going to talk about the World Series. So let's get excited. So I just talked about this. What role did regional TV deals play in revenue inequality? And could the national TV contract save it? So we know why we can't do a national TV contract, right? Why it doesn't work very well, and why the people who would do it aren't keen to do it, namely the big networks. And we know that regional TV plays into the local revenue, but there is one thing that is worth talking about, and Jeff Passan actually talked about this recently, and this tells a little bit more of the story of why owners are going in this direction. So there's been a lot of question marks around regional TV, right? I get it. TV is dying in general. Broadcast packages are dying in general, and there is an oversaturation of baseball on TV. There's just so many games. You can watch a bunch of games. Blackouts are their way of making it feel a little bit more exclusive, and it also drives up the value a little bit of those things. And I get that as well. I understand it from a business standpoint, but there's just so many games that national doesn't work. So they need broadcast television now doesn't want to do it because there's still too many games. It's not now locally they're starting to have the same problem locally as they did nationally. That's what I'm trying to say. So with that uncertainty comes added uncertainty for an owner when they are projecting their revenue for the next year. Now, this is the big difference between Major League Baseball and the other sports. Football and basketball can very accurately predict how much money they're going to need to spend the next year because of the cap system. What that allows them to do is go to financial institutions and other billionaires and banks and say, this is how much money this business is making. Give me a nice franchise valuation. That valuation keeps going up. They can then borrow money on that valuation, this like magical thing that this is how much this thing's worth. They borrow money and then they put it in their other projects and make more money. Jerry Jones, Jerry Jones, Jerry Jones, Jerry Jones, okay? Major League Baseball looks at that and says, I want that. I want to be able to leverage my baseball team franchise value, but because they can't predict now their revenue from regional TV because it's uncertain, and player salaries, how much they're gonna have to spend. Now they can't predict revenues or expenses, when before they can only not predict expenses. So this whole thing is going to be a move to make it easier for them to raise their franchise values. That is actually what they want long term. That is what they want because that is how business is run now. It is based on sentiment and what people think things are valued, not actually the what's happening inside of the business as much. It's based on the fundamentals, it is, but like, I don't know if you noticed, look around, there's a lot of things that are determined this way now, and they see opportunity to make more money. If you notice, players haven't said, oh, this is bad and we need to change this, whatever. We're like, if we just kind of made some small adjustments, we'd be good. But the owners are pushing this, not the players, and they want to increase their franchise values. So I just want people to have an understanding of that is their motivation. That is what they want, and they're going to frame it to like, fans, look, we can't be competitive because there's no cap on spending. But the cap on spending creates that certainty. It doesn't actually make the teams work competitive. Or it may be a little bit, but not enough to, that trade-off is not worth it. And that's it. That's where that's come from. So that's why regional TV deals are a big deal, because they're uncertain. And I get it, that's scary. But you guys are the geniuses. You're the ones with billions of dollars. You're the businessmen. And the world is changing. So I would challenge you to prove that you're the genius that you all think you are, and make some savvy business moves and fix the problem and figure out a way to do it. It is not your employee's job to fix that problem for you as much as you think it is. And that's the crux of the matter at this point, in my opinion. In my opinion. All right. Talked about reducing team control years, but it's fair compensation for teams that invest 7+ years and millions in minor league development if a player can leave right after they become good. So this is saying it's not fair for teams to invest into a player when they're going to leave right away. You get their labor for the time you had them. That's it. So this is silly because the team is receiving, even if they spent millions of dollars in development, they're still receiving more value for that player on the back end if they're a big leaguer and if they're productive. If they get to free agency, they provided more value for their team, most likely, than they were paid in compensation. And that's how it's set up. The reason control is this way is so they can underpay you, and then you go and recoup that value later, probably from another team. That's silly, but that's what so basically the team receives all of the value up front, is what I'm saying. That's why that's fair compensation. The fair compensation is their labor for the 8 years that you have them, and for the presumably 4 to 5 to 6 years they were on your Major League Baseball team, because you probably paid them minimum wage for 3 years, which is way less than comparable players are probably worth somewhere in free agency. And then arbitration, maybe it goes up. Maybe you do get to that number eventually. But for all those years, you did not pay them the amount of money they would have been worth on the free market. And that is the point. You're supposed to get more value than you get from the player, and he's supposed to go get that later. So that's how that works. That's why this is the way it is. We're almost there. How much does state tax and cost of living actually factor into free agency decisions? Does California high tax rate actually hurt the Dodgers, or is it negligible? I assume you get taxed hard for the amount you make. Yes, this is one interesting thing, and disclaimer, really quickly, disclaimer. I am not complaining about the amount of money Major League Baseball players are making. It is awesome. And the reason that the union is the way it is because they were allowed to, they are here to help us get the piece of the pie that is adequate for the amount of the pie that there is. So this is not a complaint about taxes. I, in my opinion, think that taxes are important as long as they're going where they need to go. That is another conversation for somewhere else. But this is how it works. You are a W-2, W-4, W-2, whatever, whichever one it is, salaried employee. So you're hit with federal income taxes and state income taxes before you see your money. What that means is, if you play in California, 52% of your money is gone before you see it. They withhold it. So if you're making 30 million, that's 14 million. Just like, there's no capital gains here. There's no loopholes for tax. Like, you're not like the other millionaires where you can just say, yeah, but I put that money into 58 rental properties, and so now you can't tax it. Like, baseball players can't do that. They just take it right away. So, like, Juan Soto's 765 is actually worth whatever that is, half of that is, 380 something, 383, 382 in real money. And that's if it was all now. And then over time, it's going to lose value for inflation. And if you defer it, it loses even more value. So I'm not saying feel bad. It's just something to realize that, like, the half of it's gone. Okay, so yes, that does factor in. That's where signing bonuses come in. Blake Snell signed a $56 million signing bonus because he lives in Seattle. He lives in Seattle, there's no income tax. So he gets 13% more money when he's paid that $56 million. So he's saving like $6 million, which is a lot. More than $6.5 million. But they did that because he's like, I'm going to lose $6 million more in value on top of taxes, within taxes, if I take all that money in New York City. So deferment's the same thing. Whenever you're deferred, wherever you are is what you're paid. And that's why that's beneficial. The problem is deferment's like the amount of money you lose inflation and how money changes, especially now, because the dollar's going to be worth nothing here in about a year. Like Shohei's making way less than $700 million. But like, that's a trade-off he chose to do. Now, deferments are a whole thing. We need to talk about deferments. Deferments are the thing that probably are the big adjustment here that needs to be made. Without deferments, the Dodgers would not be able to have the payroll to have. We all know that. So one way to do that is through signing bonuses. But in New York City, it's 11%. In New York State, it's 11%. In California, it's 13%. In California, or in Canada, there's the exchange rate. There's where you are when you're paid, whether or not you're paid in Canadian dollars or American. Like, there's a lot going on there too. It's very complicated. And that factors in a whole bunch as well. And Vlad took his deal because he's already there, right? But free agency, it's hard to get guys to go there free agency because of that. Like, that makes sense, especially when you're all kind of aiming for one free agency. So yes, taxes hammer you, and it does play into it because, again, if you're trying to maximize your value, why would you take 16, 17, or why would you take 11, 12, 13% less money to go somewhere than other if the money's all the same? So that's why those teams in those places have to drive those numbers up because of the tax burden. So yes, that plays in a lot. My last year, I was losing 52% of my money right away, but I got 1/7 of my last salary paid in a signing bonus to shelter it from at least the 13%. Like, that's all you can really do. Signing bonus is the only way to do that. So there's no loopholes. There's no, there's also like kind of nothing you can really do. They can't give you property or anything. They could. It's super, super sketchy, and you still have to pay tax on it. So you're a salary employee at the end of the day. It works the same as any other salary employee. They withhold your taxes. Yeah, and you get hammered by it. Sucks. It sucks, but it's also just kind of the way it goes, right? Like, so it sucks in the same way as a lot of people experience. I think a lot of people can identify with losing 35% of your money right away, just seeing it gone. Sucks, no matter what that number is. It sucks forever. If it was $1 billion and it went to 500 million, you'd be like, that sucks. That sucks. Knowing what the potential is and knowing what you're getting, it just stinks no matter what. All right. Okay. I like this. What's your realistic prediction for the 2027 CBA negotiations? What would the players demand? What would the owners demand? How long will we lose baseball? I don't know. It's going to be very interesting because, like I said, the owners are engaging this. They are They're being proactive. They have something they want. And because of that, they are going to be the one that makes the first proposal, and we're not going to know how this is going to go until we see what that is. Like, how aggressive are they going to be about it? How, like, what's it going to be like? I don't know, but it would not surprise me. Let's just put it this way. The only way games are probably, because the lockout, I'm very certain the lockout will be implemented. And the only way that games will be missed is if the players don't give in before then. Because the teams will not break it. They will miss games if the players stay steady and try to defend. The ownership will outlast them because they're waiting till the season ends to do it. Because the players' biggest leverage is the striking for like the World Series where they make tons of money, which is why it worked in 1994. And they're waiting till that's over to then lock you out. So like next year, if they thought a lockout was coming, the players would have to strike right before the World Series. And no one wants to do that, especially if they made it, right? So like that's the interesting thing. So they're going to propose a salary cap, and it's going to be interesting to see how the players respond to that, because we can all agree that there are income inequalities amongst players that make team assembly harder in free agency. And I think everyone would be in a better position if that were easier. But do you know what that doesn't do? That doesn't raise franchise values. So who knows? Who knows if they'll even care about that? It's hard to tell. I'm interested to see in how easily everyone can agree on what the problems that need to be solved are, because there are economic problems, like I mentioned about the regional networks. But some of these things they made that way on purpose, right? So they voted for them. They wanted them. They want the luxury tax, and then they use it as a thing to complain about. They created the revenue sharing where you don't have to win. But then they want to say things like, but competitive balance isn't great. Like, your bed. Now you're laying in it. I don't know what to tell you. So we'll see what happens. But I think at the end of the day, all of us, we just want baseball. We just want baseball. But I'm going to be right here anyway covering it. And I'm going to try to be as objective as humanly possible. I know I am biased by nature. I know that. I have this aversion. Like Rob has just done things and operated in ways that just are not very respectful for me, and therefore I'm not willing to give respect for them in return. Okay? That, like, the way things have been done can be done in a more good faith and productive way, and it's being consciously not doing that way because it's about power dynamics, and I just don't have time to tippy-toe around how that's just unnecessary and silly and immature. It's just an immature thing. I don't care if it's normal. It's stupid. And this could be solved if people wanted to solve it, but we have to listen to one side say they want to solve it when they don't. And that's the part I always have an issue with, and it's really hard for me to give too much credit for the person that does that. But I will say the pitch clock has worked out and I was wrong. So I'll give you that one. How about you can have that one? All right, last little thing. What about the system to international soccer where there's no cap, no draft, but also promotion regulation? Could you model parts to work for baseball, punish chief owners? That would be interesting. Relegation's interesting. Big part about relegation, though, baseball is like a facilities issue. Like even AAA teams, they just don't have the facilities to make it consistent across baseball teams. There's also an antitrust. As far as I know, and at least in Britain for the Premier League, they don't have antitrust. So there's a lot of just football leagues around. And the best way they sought to do it is have this regulation system where they let people from other leagues come in and come out so they could capture that value without having to ban them. So as far as I could find, it's kind of murky to kind of figure that out. And I don't know a lot about it. So this needs more research, but it is just a different structure. It would be cool. But I will say, in terms of European soccer, there's so much corruption. Just ask diehard football fans over there if teams are just buying stuff and just and how just disgusting it is all of the time. They're having an issue. They're like, yeah, I don't know about that. Corruption or just you can call it corruption, or just like having an uncapped system makes it, there's wild inequality all over the place. So it's not like that's perfect either, but there are some things that could go, and that would be interesting. But I think the biggest one is facilities, and travel's farther here also. There's like it's resources and stuff. Britain, you can drive the whole thing. You can just hop on a bus and go, right? In here, like I know it's far to go all the way north and all the way south. It's not necessarily close, but in the United States, you can't just drive from New York City to San Diego. So there's all that stuff too. So it's interesting. It's interesting to say the least. All right. Thank you guys for your questions. Obviously, let me know on the video if you see this again. Subscribe, do all that kind of stuff. This was a lot of fun to do. I have so much good stuff to talk about, and this will be ongoing. I'm dumping it here at the beginning because it's a hot button issue, especially with the Dodgers win the World Series again. So I'm gonna try not to dump this on you constantly, but it is what it is. All right, let's. You know what I want to do? So we're gonna do Internet Says really quick, and then we're just gonna open it up. And we're gonna talk about the World Series and the major points of the World Series. But there's a few things that we want to touch on with the Dodgers. Actually, these are like almost all Dodgers things. So okay, we're gonna do what the Internet says, and then just move on. All right. All right. This is the Internet Says. My favorite things from the Internet of the last month or so. We have the Dodgers. They won the World Series. But what's interesting about this is that the World Series Game 7 destroyed the MLB or the NBA Finals Game 7 viewership. Now, I know the markets were smaller there. Oklahoma City versus, who did OKC even play? Milwaukee? Who was it? Some other small team. I don't even remember. See, like that's how much I was in on it. Yeah, not very big, not big things for sure. So Fox said on Tuesday that it averaged 27.3 million viewers in the U.S. for the Game 7, making it the most watched World Series game in the U.S. since Game 7 in 2017. Combining English language and in the U.S., Canada on Fox and Sportsnet, and then also that gets you to 38.2 million, which is in contrast to the finals, which is 16.2. That's literally almost 3 times as much. So what I'm trying to say is it's official. Baseball is more popular than the NBA. And for the people constantly on Twitter that are saying, yeah, MLB's got to catch up with the NBA. In what? At this point, in what? They have more viewership for the playoffs and they make more revenue every year. I don't know what they're behind the NBA in anymore. They're not behind them in anything. What, more Instagram highlight reels? I don't know what to tell you. But no matter what I say about Rob and everybody else in the commissioner's office, revenues have gone up and viewership has gone up, and a lot of the things have worked. And I feel better about where baseball is. I think the playoff thing is still a little bit murky and messed up, and there's maybe too many teams there. But like, basically, we're not helping competitive balance very well. We're not doing a good job of making more teams competitive, but the health of the league and people watching it has improved. It has. You can't deny that at this point. You can't deny that at this point. And so the NBA is behind, and I'm going to die on that hill. All right. And then another Dodgers celebration photo, which this shouldn't even be here. I just added this in. Does it hurt still? Okay, cool. Let's talk about, even more celebration. What is happening? How many photos did I get? Kike Hernandez on Instagram. Yesterday, the Dodgers championship parade, Kike posted a picture on Instagram featuring teammates' bare butt, tattooed with, wait, I'm on my channel, bare ass, tattooed with a popular video game character Kirby holding the World Series trophy, captain, guess who? I have no idea. Who is that? Who do we think that is? Whose butt is that? Hot Goss, is that Glasnow's butt? Honestly, I would say Glass. I don't think Glass would get a tat. I don't think he would. What are those? Are those like gray jeans? I'm trying to think who else is crazy. This has got to be a reliever. It's got to be a reliever. Kirby Yates. It's Kirby Yates. I bet you these are jorts. Are these jorts? If it's jorts, it's definitely Kirby Yates. It's Kirby Yates, dude. Snakeskin belt. It's Kirby frickin' Yates, my guys. Love it. Relievers. Let's go. It's my guy, bro. It's my guy. All right, here we go. So this one's good. Being woke with Trevor Hildenberger in the Mets bullpen. Last week, I responded to a tweet from Tennessee Congressman Andy Ogles, one of the worst people I've ever seen on Twitter and a horrible racist. I don't like that guy, and I don't think anyone should. It's criticizing Mamdani from the... Basically just said some horrible xenophobic stuff, and he annoys me. So I talked to him, and someone else responded and tagged Trevor Hildenberger. He says, the wokest 2021 Mets reliever named Trevor title is under attack. And Hildy said, that leaves me with the wokest 2021 Syracuse Mets reliever named Trevor, because he spent more time there. I will say this, wokeness, and Trevor Hildenberger and I, we are well acquainted about how woke each one of us are. I thought this was funny. It's silly. I don't need to talk about what I was talking about because it has nothing to do with this. But yes, screw that guy, and that's funny. Whoever noticed that? What do I mean? Whoever noticed that? That's Stable Genius _1. I don't know what that picture is. It's making me a little uncomfortable. So we're gonna move on. Last thing, the Dodgers. The Dodgers won the world. Did you guys know that? This picture keeps coming up. Do I have a virus? I might. I don't like this at all. Okay. All right. This is the first time we've ever seen this, but let me explain what you're looking at right here. Keyshawn Boot. No, it's Booty. Is it Booty? It's Booty, right? The Patriots wide receiver is the first guy I've ever seen announce or give an update on his injury status on Discord. Now, for those of you who don't know what Discord is, get in ours. What are you doing? Exclamation point Discord in the chat. But here's the quote. I'll read it to you. Just got an MRI results back. It's only a grade 1 sprain, so that's a good thing. Bless up. Shouldn't be down too long, but we're working to get back. It's possibly I play in Tampa, depending on how I'm feeling, but if then, hopefully good for the Jets on Thursday Night Football. I'll keep you updated. Just wanted to know I'm working on it to get stronger and come back better. And everyone else is there. All right, so should I play you in my fantasy roster or what? Love it. Love it. If anything, Kayshawn, shout out to you, man. Take that stuff in your own hands. Let the people know. I love it. I love it so much. All right, let's talk about the World Frickin' Series, dude. Let me put that thing back up. Let me put that thing back up. All right, guys, start asking questions in the chat and stuff if you want to talk. I have a list of events in the World Series, but I want to have an open conversation about what things happened and what we think about them because it is interessante. Okay. Was the ball stuck enough in the wall? Was the ball stuck enough in the wall? Now, he is referring to the lodged ball that was not fielded in Game 6 of the World Series in the 9th inning. I will say right now, that was exactly what a lodged ball looks like. Once it stops, if it gets jammed, if it hits and doesn't, like if it doesn't move at all once it hits, you are topped. 2 hands in the air. Now, we can talk about whether or not that's right, whatever, but that is a lodged ball. And the reason you're told not to play it, everyone's like, no. The rule says that you can pull it and then they can look at it after. Those plays, if you go and you field it, you are then showing them how the play could play out. So now they have something to work off of. That's the problem. That's why you don't do it, okay? So say you run up, you try to field it, it's too stuck, you try to get it and you flail and you throw it and the guy gets an in the park or home run, right? Now you're like, go look at it. Now they have an in the park home run scoring 2 runs as the play that happened that needs to be overturned. Remember, overturning plays is different than verifying them. So if you throw your hands up, then everyone stops and then they determine, but they can't project what happened now because it didn't happen. So what you want to do, it's just a lose-lose. It's a win-lose. It's a lose-lose situation if you try to field it. Because then you have to field it perfectly just to get the play you would have gotten had you just thrown your hands up. So you always throw your hands up because it will benefit, it will go in your way. They won't overturn it. Then you don't have a high chance of it being overturned from New York because the play never played out. So they don't have something to go off of. they have to start predicting things. And you can't predict double plays. You can't assume anything in baseball. That's kind of a rule, the main underlying rule. So what you want to do is put them in a position where they can't assume anything, and that's why we're told to do that. So the rule says they can overlook it again, look at it again, but it's rarely overruled, and you don't want to give them the chance to just say it wasn't lodged. Because if they say it wasn't lodged, they'll still probably have to stay where they were. All of that said, it was lodged. So, what percentage of starting pitchers do you think could have done what Yama did? 96 pitches and then 34 pitches the next day. Yeah, don't say 36. It was 34, okay? He only threw 130 total. 196 pitches into 34 pitches. I think you would be blown away with the number of guys who could do it. But you can't do that more than one time, okay? And maintain your stuff. Every pitcher is one of two things. They are a person who wakes up the next morning and they are sore as hell after they pitch, or they're a second day soreness person, meaning that next day they have like this looseness and adrenaline. Yeah, they're sore and yeah, they're kind of weak, but like their arm's still loose and they could for a short amount of time get that oomph on the ball again. And I think that's what Yamamoto is. I think he is I bet you he throws a bullpen on his third day because the second day he's so sore. So it depends. It's not about being able to throw that. Like any starting pitcher can be like, I am physically able to throw 150 pitches. I know, in an emergency, if I needed to do it, I could throw 130, 140. Sure, I would lose probably sharpness at the end, for the last 30 pitches or so, but I can physically do it. I can keep my velocity up and keep my stuff generally okay. Command would probably start to go away, but I could do it if there's no other pitchers available. If everyone else is dead, and there's only one guy who can throw pitches still, I could physically do it. Pretty much every starting pitcher can do that. So, that said, coming in the next day, it's Game 7 of the World Series, adrenaline, he's just running completely off it, and I'm sure the next day he felt like he got hit by a Mack truck. So, you would be surprised the number of guys can do it, but to do it that well and be that sharp, that was what was so impressive. He was throwing, everything was moving just as much, and he was just as sharp, command-wise. That's crazy. That's what the impressive part is, not the ability to throw the pitches, but to do them effectively. So that's a great question. That's a great question. How about that Louis Varland? Let's talk a little bit about why Louis Varland's crazy, and we're just going to get into the big storylines of it. Louis Varland threw 15 times in 18 games. So, yes, those 18 games are spread out over just under a month. So I think he threw 15 games in 26 days. So that's doable. But the average, what you want to average in appearances in the regular season are 12 per month. That'll get you to 70. That's the top echelon. That means you're throwing a lot. 15 in 26 days is an ass ton. And he threw 98 plus the whole time. He also gave up 5 homers. So this is crazy for a couple reasons. One, he's a workhorse, but also in the playoffs, usually if you're a reliever and you're giving up homers, you're not going to be given that many of opportunities to give up home runs. But the unique, perfect storm of how things were going, he's all they had, so they kept throwing him out there. So for him to throw that many times and give up 5 home runs is unheard of, because usually they'll just be like, all right, you're done. Who's next? We need someone to get the job done. But they're in that World Series, generally, which is really amazing to think of, there's 16 total relievers and 4 of them were trusted total. Isn't that crazy? Yeah. Amazing. Got to talk about you, Savage. All right, let's talk about Trey Savage. So maybe I will use this to start the Trey Savage video that I have been working on. I'm going to do a deep dive, breakdown of his mechanics, of his stuff. But let's just set the tone this way. 22 years old, started in high A in Dunedin. Woof. I played there. Woof. I lived in Dunedin. Woof. Okay? That is as far from the big leagues possibly you could feel like you're getting. And then he got there and then he became their number 2 starter. Impressive. He had 2 of the best big league starts I've ever seen in the playoffs. Dude, this playoffs had the best starting pitching I've ever seen. Maybe that's another video. So many ideas. So that is incredible. He struck out 11 Yankees and he struck out 12 Dodgers. And he has that style of stuff that is unlike anyone else's. He has a unicorn approach to the game. He throws directly over the top, like a Felix Bautista arm height. I believe it's slightly lower, 64 degrees, and Felix Bautista is 66. But he's directly over the top with a splitter that goes straight down and a slider that goes straight down and also arm side a little bit, and then a four-seam fastball that carries at 20. So he has the north-south game. He is as dialed in as it possibly can be. He reminds me of the Michael Wacha 2013, right? Like where they're like, we know what he's doing, but you just can't know how to hit it until you see him pitching. And the trajectory machines that they use to prep don't have that high of an arm slot. It's hard to get ready for that. So his combination of 3 pitches is really, really good. But what we saw is when he got hurt, he gave up home runs. He is going to give up home runs because he doesn't have east to west. He doesn't get off of barrels. He misses bats. And he's going to have to find a way to do that eventually. He's going to have a cutter or like a sweeper or like a seam. He's going to have to throw like a splitter and a seam shifted changeup or like a sinker or something that starts to go this way, because once you just put people in the lane, they can catch you like Muncy did. Okay. Do I think he's a perennial Cy Young incoming? It's possible, but he's more likely like just a really good pitcher, right? Just based on what I saw. But his demeanor was incredible. So he, as impressive as I've ever seen. I was able to speak with him on the field in Seattle for the ALCS for the radio. And this is an endearing term. I'm not trying to throw any shade. The golden retriever energy, just like, I'm happy to be here. This is awesome. Like he was really taking it in. Just like, isn't this cool? Like I loved it. Dude, I was like, yes, it is cool. You're cool. I love this. I love that you're acting this way, not like, we'll do it. I'll go. Like he was just like, yeah, man, it's crazy. It's nuts. I don't know. I'm having so much fun. It's crazy. He reminded me of Mizurowski when he's like, I don't know what I'm doing. I just throw it hard as I can. I love it. So, yeah, Trey Savage. Cheers, bud. Cheers. What do you make of the multiple Blue Jays running mistakes? I got to be honest, guys. I feel bad. It's you know what's crazy? So I want to start answering this question like this. The craziest part about this is Jeff Hoffman isn't getting, I mean, yes, he's getting plenty of ire, right? People are like, Hoffman, whatever. But like, I thought it would just be like, Jeff Hoffman. Like everyone would just like focus on him. But we are focused on the base running mistake of Barger, even though we're calling it a mistake, when he would tie the game if that ball drops in. He wants to be able to tie the game. So he got deked a little bit, and yeah, he got caught out. But being aggressive there was like he needed to shade aggressive, which had worked for them, and taking the extra base and all that kind of stuff. So he was just being overly aggressive. A great play was made, and then the pick by Miguel was ridiculous. The play but made on the back end was also incredible. So you got to give credit where credit is due there. But yes, Kike got him a little bit because he caught it a little more easy than Barger thought. So that was a mistake. And then the IKF thing, him being conservative there is what you're supposed to do. He was just too conservative. His lead was too short. He needs a short lead. He needed to take at least another big step. He was safe with that. The people who are saying just run standing up through the base, no one's ever going to do that. That's just not what you're taught to do. That is a mistake 95% of the time. Especially if like you miss the bag, you slide on the bag, you hurt yourself. That's the big thing too. You slide on the bag, you step right on plate and you slide and you tear your knee up. Like it's not worth it at that point. Like, you know what I mean? So I'm sure he would have been probably safe in hindsight, but he being conservative there, as Whit Merrifield and many great base runners and ex-players have said, was the correct approach, because getting doubled up there, if he got doubled up again after it just happened the night before, imagine how the fans would be acting now. At least he's like, if I get thrown out at home, we still have another chance to score a run because there's only one out. I cannot get doubled up. And I understand that. That said, he still had a little bit more room, which would have made it moot. And I understand being too conservative at that point is not what you guys want to see. But again, hindsight, what is it? 2020. So I think that's what happened. What's it like being in an 18-inning game? Did we win yet? That's how it's like. It's so much. So I've watched one, and I've been in two, or like I think I've 16-inning game and an 18-inning game in my life. When you haven't pitched, staying ready to pitch, it's like the most draining mental thing. Like you're just like, every inning. It's awful. You want to be one of the guys that is the leverage guy at the beginning. That's what you want. So it's very hard. And then once you pitch, you're like, okay, come on. We saw this with the Mariners, like the look on their face. I'm like, which team is going to be like, I don't care how this ends at this point. I just need it to be over. Who's gonna break? Because the commentator's fully broken. And I know there's critiques of Buck and Smoltzy, but guys, imagine being two people in a room that have to talk about the same two teams for 6 straight hours. You'd be making stuff up. And also, you need to put some respect on the players in that game's names. That was the Will Klein versus Eric Lauer game, and very impressive stuff out of those two guys. And Yamamoto was going to come in that one too. This playoffs was crazy good, man. I love it. Can you get some kudos for Will Power Klein? Yes. Congratulations, Will. You deserve that World Series ring. Oh, someone made a great point, Questley did, and I'm going to hit it real quick. What if on the IKF play is kind of silly because Miggy Rowe also kind of bobbled the ball, but what if Miguel Rojas just fielded it cleanly and threw it? It wouldn't have been close. Like, what if he also didn't bobble it? I understand that like that made him IKF have more chance, but he couldn't. He just did the best. He did the best thing he could with the information he had at the time, and that's all you can ask. And I know that sucks. So I think that most people know that, and what's happening is you're grieving, and I get it. 12-year-old me was in my body just watching the Mariners blow it, man. Like they did blow it. It got blown, and I've been in that situation, and I blew that game. Like you don't want to blow it, but blowing it is what happens. And that part of me is like grieving. People are grieving, and this is one of those things. It's such a good playoffs. Such a long time that grief is the right word for it. So, but man, the Blue Jays were so good. I think they were overall a better team, but the Dodgers' experience took over. I think that's what it was. Why is bunting not done much, especially in the playoffs when bats go cold easily? I would argue that bunting is more common now than it used to be. But I think that we're going to see more and more of that. Usually it's because of roster construction and the guys in the roster. Like it's a balance between bats go cold, but big swings are very important also. So you like want more guys that have the opportunity to make a big swing, taking swings. So like it's one of those things like, we can't really hit, but we do have a bunch of guys that could go deep at any moment. Like I think you need a little bit more bunting though. The Blue Jays did a lot though. What happened to the old-fashioned high chopper? It's 99.99999% of the time terrible. That's why. But we have, I think, the game is over efficient. We've gone too much in the efficiency side, so crazy stuff can't happen, which does define baseball a lot. So. I'm so glad the better team didn't win, Trev. I have terrible news for you. That's actually baseball. The better team doesn't win like a lot. Sorry. The Blue Jays were the better team. They also lost 68 regular season games. And they were the better team more than 68 times. See what I mean? Like, it's just... That's kind of what baseball is. Like, that's why you can't buy championships. What's your take on the better World Series performance, Yama or Bumgarner? Ooh, that's interesting. I'm going to go Yama only because he didn't start game one. So like it's crazy. Just because he didn't start game one and he did it against a more potent offense, but just barely. The Mad Bum stuff was crazy. Also, I think Mad Bum could have thrown like 10 more innings. So like he just ran out of innings. Had they gone into the 15th, he still would have been pitching. So, but those two for me are two of the greatest probably performances. You know, pry the ball out of my cold dead fingers, kind of like just gutsy performances in the history of the major leagues. The better team doesn't blow games 6 and 7 at home. Mm-hmm. It depends on what you mean by better, right? Are we going to go by like the team that won is better or not? Or is that oversimplified? This is crazy that we're having this semantic conversation. By the way, they just got beat in game 6. They didn't blow that one. They just got beaten that one. But they did blow the last one. The last one they blew. So, all right. Do you think that if the Mariners won game 7, we get a better or worse World Series? Worse. I think that the Mariners had the same issues as the Dodgers, but they just weren't as good. I think it would have been more of a Brewer situation. I think they would have just worn them out. It would have been like a bunch of 4-1, 3-1, 3-2 games. I think the Blue Jays had the best chance to win the World Series. Do the Dodgers repeat next year? I don't think so. They're getting older, and it became really apparent. And also, they just went 7 games World Series and back. Here's another thing about baseball winning the World Series. When you win the World Series, you've been playing baseball for 8.5 months. You only have 3.5 months to rest. So the older you get, the more like these nagging things don't get resolved in the offseason, and then you lose guys in the regular season, and you have to have young guys come up and fill in for them. I don't know who those young guys are for the Dodgers, but like the era of Freddie and Mookie and these guys being like the core, that's going to start loosening up a little bit. And they're going to have to get reinforcements, but we'll see. We'll see. They could, of course they could. But yeah, it's interesting. Okay, Ernie Clement. I want to talk about Ernie Clement. Ernie Clement set the record for the most hits in a playoffs with 30, which is incredible. And he was had that ball that Pages stiff-armed Kike Hernandez into the ground for landed, Ernie Clement would have been the MVP, and Yama would have been not the MVP because he gave up the game-winning hit. Isn't that crazy? Like, that was the difference. It was like, nope, caught it. It's you. You win. Like, that's crazy. Which is sick. Like, that's awesome. Isn't that awesome? But Ernie Clement was my MVP. Honestly, Barger, not too far. Dude, Addison Barger was a problem. He was so clutch. Both of their swings were so dialed in. They were hitting stuff. What do you think they're doing out there? I don't know. It was crazy. It was amazing. It was amazing. But yeah, I can't say enough. He set himself up. It'll be interesting to see what him and Barger do next year and how big of a role they play. But like Ernie Clement gave me big Ben Zobrist vibes. Big Ben Zobrist vibes. And he looked like he was having so much fun. I don't know. I was really riding with him. I really was. It was weird because I was like, obviously, I'm not like, ooh, yeah, go Dodgers. But I'm also, there's this little part of me that's like, Blue Jays, I'm mad at you. And I have this thing with Springer because he got me a few times and he's just tough. And so like, and the people who work with me in the office here are Mariners fans. So like they took it hard. So it was really hard to root for the Blue Jays, even though I'll always lean towards they have not won a World Series in 30 plus years. It's Canada. I like Canadians. The Canadians are awesome. They're great, a great fan base, great place to play. And it's different, and we haven't seen it in a while. It would be more fun to see that. And also, like, I want to see a team that's like, okay, fine, we'll sign our superstar, and then they win the World Series immediately. I want that. I want that more. So, I already got the Dodgers repeat next year. How about the Miggy Rojas homer? He is pesky, and I struggled to face that guy. I got to give the tip of the cap to him with the defensive plays and coming up big. That is the first time anyone has hit a game-tying home run in the 9th inning. Ever. Nuts. So, Miggy Rowe, and then homegrown talent Will Smith taking it home, baby. Nuts. Remember when Shohei Ohtani got walked 5 straight times? Me too. Me too. Does Bo sign with the Rays or with the Jays? I don't think so. I think Andres Jimenez is now their shortstop. But Bo Bichette better get paid. It depends on where he plays, man. He's just not a very good shortstop. I think he's a great player. I love watching that guy play. He can hit. Oh my God, can he hit? But it's there are stretches where it is god awful at short. So Bieber accepted his option. Yeah, we talked about that earlier, right? Which is awesome. Do you think they were overlooking Rojas for who was coming up after? Yes, absolutely, absolutely. Isn't that crazy? Okay, so I have another one. Let's get the bottom one there, Duffy, and then we'll do a couple more, and then I got to get out of here. What about Jimenez trying to get hit on the hand and then complaining about getting hit? Yeah, that was interesting. That was interesting. I was so confused. I was like, I think this is just a let's get some energy out here, boys, kind of situation. Jimenez, like, you're gonna get on base any way you can. It's up and in. He kind of threw his hand out in slow-mo. It looks way worse than it was in full speed. It is what it is. But then he actually gets it, and he's like, dude, you just did it twice. You threw it twice. Like, what? Basically, he was like, I think he was getting defensive about that thing that he kind of knew he did. And honestly, I don't blame, like, this being a natural reaction because, like, I got to get on. I have to get on right here. Like, him kind of doing that and be like, oh, hope that didn't look too bad. And then him getting hit, and he's like, what? Did you hit me because you think I'm trying to get hit? And then he's like, no, man. Why would I hit you on purpose? I'm left-handed. I throw 97, and up on deck is Springer. Why would I hit you? So, like, he's like, what, man? Are you trying to hit me because I tried to get in the way of that one? He's like, no. That was the first one was an accident, and then I made the same mistake. And so they were both like, oh, okay, all right. It was just funny because I was like, I think he's getting defensive. He's getting proactively defensive by the first pitch. And the other guy's like, why would I hit you? And I'm like, why would he hit you? That doesn't make any sense. And then it turned into like, but I'm going to get postured because we got to come back here. Like, sometimes you got to fire up the boys. And that's what it turned into. But at the end of the day, as that outside looking in, I was like, this is unnecessary. This is silly. This is crazy. Would they not consider playing Bo at second permanently? I think they would, but again, that him changing positions is going to change his contract. I don't know who his agent is, but again, you only go to free agency once usually, and he's young. He should get a big deal. That's going to matter. So it's very interesting because he doesn't have a natural position right now, I think, for most teams. So how is that going to change things? Does that make the Blue Jays, who understand what they're getting, more attractive? Probably. But at the same time, they're like, but you were a shortstop before, now you're a second baseman. We'd like to take a little bit less money. And he's like, I don't want to do that. Then we have a Pete Alonso situation. So we'll see. We'll see. Okay. We had something else. Trevor, thoughts on Braves hiring Jeremy Hefner? They got a good one. One of the better ones out there, in my opinion. I'm a big fan of Jeremy Hefner. He was the reason I signed with the Mets. He thinks outside the box. He knows his stuff really well, and he works really well with pitchers. At the end of the day, there's only so much pitching coaches can do, but I think he gets you prepared as well as you can be to pitch every day, and that is what you're looking for. And he also is very good at problem solving and thinking creatively on how to make you better. So, interesting. Cease, Framber, Ranger, or Michael King gets the most money in free agency. I'm gonna say that's probably Cease, followed by Framber, followed by King, followed by Ranger. All right. Let me do a last little check here. We pretty much hit all of this. We hit the Miggy Rowe, Will Smith homer, Vladdy, Dodgers. Are the Dodgers ruining baseball? Yeah, you ain't gonna get me. They ain't gonna get me. Throw that last one up, please. One more time, DK, and then we'll get out of here. What about Jimenez trying to get the hit in the hand and then complaining about getting hit? Oh, we already had that one. We already talked about that. We're good. I thought it was fine. Smart play. All right, guys. That concludes this week's Mayday show. I don't know if it's in the chat, but if we could get it posted again, guys. Next week we have a new inaugural special edition of Mayday, where we are doing something called the Other Baseball Awards, where I've come up with like 1,000 different categories, 8 of which are community choices. Meaning we are going to pick a bunch of players and give them awards for doing good things, best moments of the year, everything baseball, Major League Baseball or otherwise. But I need your submissions. There is a link in the chat available. There it is. No, that's the current screen schedule. It is on next Wednesday, and there is a link to the ballot. There it is, right there. Fill out that form. The community awards. There's 8. It's like most viral award, best content creator award, best like Twitter follow, best walkout song, best reliever entrance, like that kind of stuff. Where I want your submissions, and then going into the early next week or probably on Sunday, I will put out a multiple choice one in Discord, in Instagram, on YouTube, like polls, so that you guys can then choose. We'll do rank order, and you can choose the one you like the most. So I'm going to take the top 4 from all of them, and we're going to do voting again, a second round, and then we will present the winners, and maybe we'll like make merch around some of the winners, some of our favorites. So we remember this year. I just think this would be a fun thing that we can do every single year. I did one of these called the Underrated Awards a couple years ago, I think 2022 on YouTube, and the team and I are interested in doing it. So. And I think it's a good way to get you guys to participate and let you have a voice in some of these things. Because you know what? We don't all agree on who wins the Cy Young. And hell, we talk about Tarek Skubal and Shohei Ohtani and Aaron Judge all the time. I want to talk about guys like, hell, I don't even know. I want to talk about guys like the dude from Miami who was like, slap me in the face and throw me out there. Like I want to talk about that. I want to talk about the rookies, the weirdos, the weird guys in the bullpen, the kids who come up for 10 days and are just studs and then go back to, like, I want to talk about those guys. The Other Baseball Awards, Thursday, noon. Foul territory, on to Trevor May together. So, never mind. Like Zach McKinstry. Yes, exactly. All right. Guys, thank you for being here. Thanks for chilling. Thanks for hanging out. I appreciate it. Mayday, a show about the show. I'm glad to be back. We're going to be back next week, same time, same place. And the week after that, same time, same place. Though, full disclosure, my goal is to then start migrating myself into Discord and hanging out there all the time. This off season into next year, I want that Discord to be popping, and I want to give you all kinds of fun stuff for being there. And same with Substack. So with all that said, we will be in December, taking a few weeks off, chilling, holidays. You guys all know the drill. The week of Thanksgiving, for example, probably will not have a show be live, but I'm going to be making tons of videos. I'm watching Moneyball, going through that. I have 25 videos going. And Trevor Throws Cheese is joined by Trevor Hits Dingers. And there's so many things planned for that as well. There's going to be a home run derby. I'm entering a home run derby against some serious content creators. There's your tease. We haven't announced this yet, but expect it. And my swing is terrible. So expect another one of those episodes soon. Anyway, I'm leaving. I want to thank you guys for being here. Don't forget to drink your water. Enjoy your off season, but keep paying attention to baseball. And I'll see you next time on Mayday for some awards. All right. You guys have a good one. And I'll see you very, very, very soon. Bye.